Hi everyone, and welcome to episode number 194 of the Karen Knits podcast. My name is Karen, and I'm coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania, where I live, where I work, where I knit and crochet, and get into all kinds of other crafting shenanigans. I'm so happy to have you here with me today. It is Saturday, January 13th, 2024, and it's getting a bit later into the afternoon. It's about 2 o'clock. And we've been running around and busy all morning. We went out for a fundraising breakfast at the fire hall near where my hubby works. And then he had to get a few things done at work. Then we had to wait for another friend to come by because he had a little gift for us. And we're just finally home. So, anywho. So it's been a busy morning already, but that's fine. So I've had a productive week. And a bunch of work I did is gonna have to be redone. Measure twice, cut once, similar idea. Measure twice, crochet once, join once, not the other way around. Don't just start crocheting squares together and then finding out. Anyway, I will come back to that story in a little bit. Anyways, I do have a finished object today. And these are my 2 at a time toe up sort of shorty, as per usual. That seems to be the majority of what I knit lately with socks. But they're my toe up 2 at a time sort of shorty Advent scraps. Part 1. So these are made using bare yarn and the leftover yarn from my Chickadee Fiber Arts Advent calendar from days 1 through 12. And I'm going to make a second pair using days 13 through 24. So this is the first pair. They're a little bit shorter than my regular sort of shorty. These are even a little short, sort of shortier. That's not even a word. That's not even a word, Karen. Anywho, these are the first 12 days worth of leftovers from my Advent calendar from Chickadee Fiber Arts that I got this past year. The majority of each of the minis went into squares for my Ariana cardigan, which I will talk about a lot more later on today. But this is each of the days I had roughly 2 to 3 grams left. It was just a teeny little ball of yarn that was left from each day. So it was just the right amount to make one pair and from the first half of the leftovers, and I will make a second pair with the second half of the leftovers. I have not started that yet. I have a couple other things I want to work on and get started and done before I do those leftovers, or the second half of the leftovers. But it is on the way. So that's my first whip, or correction, that's not even a whip, Karen. That is my one and only finished object for today. I have 2 whips. One of them is something you have not yet seen, and that is living right now in my little dodgy project bag that I made for myself a little while back. And these are my 2 at a time toe up sort of shorty socks that are going to be mismatched. I apologize in advance for those that are not fans of mismatched yarns, or mismatched socks, I should say. But these are socks that I'm going to be making throughout the year from my Opal or Opal yarn Advent calendar that I bought this past year. So there were 24 different 20-gram minis from Opal's yarns, and it was an Advent calendar I bought from Purple Circle Yarn Co. on Etsy. And I opted for, sorry, it feels like I got something in my eye. I opted for making six, I don't even know where 6 comes from. I opted for making 1 sock out of each and every day so that at the end of the year, I'm hoping to do 1 pair per month throughout 2024, so that when I get to partway through December, I will have 24 mismatched socks, and then I can wear them. Chances are I'll probably wear them where I will take two socks that are in the blue family and 2 socks that are maybe in the yellow or orange family, and so on. So anyway, this past week I cast on and worked on the first pair. Initially I hadn't decided how I wanted to work my way through the yarn. If I just wanted to randomly choose, if I wanted to pick yarns that looked like they were a little bit closer together, or if I wanted to just open or knit them up chronologically the way I opened them. And I decided to go for the last option. I decided I'm just going to go through envelopes or little packages. 1 for the first month, I'm going to do 1 and 2, then 3 and 4, and so on. So I'm just going to go through them in numerical order as I open them each day throughout Advent. So without further ado, here is the first pair. So they're clearly not a pair, but these are the first ones that I made or that I worked on. And I started these this week. I wasn't sure, I don't think I had started them last week. No, I'm 100% sure I had not started them yet this past week. Right now I'm halfway through doing the gusset increasing, and then I will get to doing the heel turn and heel flap, and then I will continue using the original yarn or the main color yarn until I completely run out, and then I will switch back to the bare yarn. No, that's not bare yarn. I will go back to using my contrast color yarn to make them a decent length, because I do want to have all of these mismatched socks all be the same length. So depending on how far I get with these 2 skeins, again 20-gram skeins, I'll see how far I get, and then I'll keep count of the rows above the heel flap, and then I will make sure that I have a set number of rows that I will do all of them, and a set number of ambulance. I will go through them and I will make sure they all have a set number of rounds for the ribbing, which I will probably do in a 2x2 rib, because that seems to be what I do all my socks in right now. So I'll probably do 15 rounds in ribbing, and then I'll probably, I haven't 100% decided. I'll see how many rounds I get done with the main colors once I'm done the heels. So I'm hoping that these are going to be done when I see you next week. We shall see. The yarn, again, the yarn I'm using for these is Opal yarn, or Opal, depending on if I'm pronouncing it. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right at all. Anywho, so the yarns I'm using, sorry for that noise there, I'm keeping them in a fancy Ziploc bag. So the main color, or sorry, the contrast color for the toes, heels is this. It's an Opal yarn, 4-ply, in a solid, and it's all in German, which doesn't help me one teensy tiny drop. Come on, focus. The color I think is medium gray, is the color I've seen it written down as. And the 2 yarns that are done in the socks, sock number 1, which is this one. So sock number 1 come on, focus. There we go. So Vincent van Gogh 5433 is the first color, and the second one, Country, and the color number is 11293. So those are the two colorways that I have. So the Country is the bluish colored one, and the Vincent van Gogh one is the multicolored, the yellows and this almost Arizona. This reminds me of like an Arizona sunset kind of color with the reds and pinks and yellows and oranges. So there's my progress on those. I am hoping that I will have these finished as completely done to show you next week. But that will all depend on how much time I spend on my other project. So right now I'm sitting with 3 whips, this pair of socks. I have my Geo Gradient, which I have not touched since probably end of November. Sorry. Just drinking a Coke Zero. I feel like more caffeine today, but I probably don't need the bubbles. Anyway, the rest of my time this week, well actually I think I started this on Thursday. The first part of the week I worked on the Opal sort of shorty socks, mismatched socks. I've not touched Geo Gradient, and my third whip is my Ariana cardigan. I got around to getting going on that, I think it was on Thursday. So I laid out a bunch of squares. I got all confused when it came time to start laying out where it spreads out into the sleeves and does the change in shape kind of thing along the neckline. So I just got the first part laid out and started doing the join as you go crochet method on that. And I kind of was fighting with having trouble understanding what the heck I was supposed to be doing. And this has been, right now it's been a bit of a fail. I did the first 3 tiers. So I did the bottom row, the second row, and then I did the third row. And then I thought to kind of try it on, which you can't really do because it's basically like a long scarf right now. And it is ginormous. And I'm not a dainty I'm not a dainty girl. It's huge. There's no way this is going to fit me. This will fit me and my hubby together. So I sat there going, nuts. So I am going to have to undo all of the join. I have figured out how to do the join as you go thing now. And I figured out and understand what's going on in the first several rows of doing the join as you go. But right now, the way I have it, there's no way it'll just be falling off me. And I don't know anyone in this planet that this thing would fit. You know when you see those pictures of people where they comment that gauge matters and they show someone wearing like 2 people in one sweater? That's what this one is going to turn out like if I continue as is. So much to my surprise, I'm actually going to be able, it comes in 2 sizes. There's a free pattern on Ravelry. This is the Ariana cardigan by Amy Christophers. And it comes in 2 sizes on the way the pattern's written. Small, medium, and large. And then extra 1X, 2X, 3X. So I thought, well, I'd rather err on the side that it will fit me. So I thought I'll just make the larger of the 2 sizes because I'm a larger girl. So, my squares, granted, because I switched from using the recommended size yarn and use something thinner, and I still did the squares the same size as what it's not gonna fit. It's way too big. So I'm just gonna have to undo the whole thing. All the granny squares are done. Tails are tucked in. Everything's all done there. And now I'm gonna have to reconfigure it, and I'll start joining all the squares together, making the smaller size, which for me, I have not had to make something in the smaller size for me in a long time. So there's one plus. I get to make a smaller size. That's the only plus here, guys. And I don't even think that quite counts as a plus, because I don't care. It's like, if it fits, it fits. It's fitting on my body. That's fine. Not this one. This one, no. It's way too big. And it's usually the opposite. Usually when you make a sweater for, it's too small. Nope, not this time. So anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, I'm going to lay out the squares. I think it called for 40 odd squares. I think it was, I don't have the numbers right with me, but I think there's something like 20 more squares in the larger size versus the smaller size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the number of squares that I need for making the smaller size, lay it out, and make and put it all together. And then with the leftover 20 odd squares, plus there'll be a few, I think there's a few triangles that'll be extra. I haven't 100% decided what I'm going to do, but I think what I'd like to try to do is see if I can reconfigure this sweater or this cardigan into a button-up vest. And I might have to do a few triangle squares to square off or straighten out the sleeve or the lack of sleeve. I honestly think that's what I'm going to try to do with it. If I need to make a few more squares in order to make this happen, that's fine. I have in this glass cookie jar, I have scraps that are in a lot of blues and greens. I don't think I'd add any greens in there because this is all blues and purples and pinks. I think what I'm going to do is I will try to figure out a way to make a vest out of the extra squares, and so that they don't quite look like the exact same thing, one just with and without sleeves. I think what I'll do is I will find a different color to join all the squares. Right now, the plan is, I will show you this in just a few minutes, but one of the plans right now, the Ariana cardigan that I'm making is done in, I'm joining it in bare yarn. So it's like a cream white color that's joining all these squares. What I might do for the vest is I might order some Knit Pick Stroll in black and use that for joining all of these squares on the vest. And I think it'll take on more of a stained glass kind of look if it's got the black borders, and it'll look like two completely different garments. Like it'll look like they're not, I'm hoping it'll look like with the vest it's not like, oops, there's her mistake. She's wearing her mistake. Which is true, that is what I'm going to be doing. I'm wearing my mistake. I made too many squares. But anyway, so that's what happened with my knitting goof up, or crocheting goof up. Gauge maybe matters. Who'd have thunk? But anyway, here is where it's at now. Just trying to catch the loose end so that I don't start unraveling it too soon. But this is, I'm looking at it, the flat part is the bottom. But you'll see this when I go through this. Set the right side on the wrong side. Anyways, I'm showing you the back side of it, but it doesn't make a huge difference. It's gonna be gorgeous when it's done. I love all of these colors. But you see, it's like the Energizer Bunny. It just keeps going and going. I'm not that big all the way around. It's just huge. I tried it last night and my hubby's just like, ooh, that's a bit big. Yeah, it's way too big. When I put it around, I just kind of like took it and kind of made a half circle out of it to think, okay, well, how does... Seriously, this is folded in half. It's massive. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I think the smaller size is probably going to be about, I don't know, I'd have to double check the numbers, but it's maybe this big around, which is still going to be plenty big enough. So I was kind of miffed that I had spent quite a few hours crocheting and working on joining all these pretty little squares to find out that, yeah, it's a blanket. I'm making a blanket. I don't have enough squares to make a full-size blanket. Oh my goodness. I don't want to make a scarf to match the sweat with the extras. I don't want to make a scarf to match the cardigan that will also coordinate with the socks. That's a little too much. But, so that's my dilemma from today. It's ginormous. I goofed up big time on doing this. But the squares should be the right size. I'm gonna have to be awful careful when this gets washed that it doesn't stretch even more, because even with the next size, like the smaller size, might end up being ridiculously big on me. But I will wear my blanket with pride once it's ready. I'm hoping that once I do the smaller size, it'll fit properly. So I think that's the plan. I will have a cardigan with the white borders, and I will do a vest with the extras. I might have to make more squares out of that my scrap yarns. I'll make a vest with a black border, or I might find a dark gray. Dark gray, like a charcoal gray would be a nice color too. Black might be a little too contrasty. I don't know. The vest is a little ways down the line. I want to finish this crazy cardigan first. So that's my tale of woe about my Ariana cardigan. Hours and hours of crocheting down the chute. Live and learn. Anywho, so those are my crafting adventures for the week. Oh dear. Anyway, so I want to thank everyone who stuck around listening to my tale of woe and my whining about a cardigan that won't fit me. Anywho, thank you so much for joining me today. I want to thank everyone who has joined up with my box of socks make-along for 2024. There's a bunch of finished object pictures coming up in the finished object thread already. It's fantastic. Some gorgeous socks in there. So I appreciate everyone that's joined that or joined into that group. It's fantastic. And I kind of want to try to talk about it here and there throughout the year so that we don't get through a couple months and then everyone forgets about it, and me included, and it goes nowhere else. It just kind of fades out. I want to kind of keep it alive all year. So hopefully next week when you see me, I will have my Opal socks will be done, or the mismatched first two mismatched sort of shorty Opal socks, and hopefully my Ariana cardigan round 2 Hopefully that'll be finished. I don't think I'll have time to start laying out the squares this afternoon. I want to get the editing here done. I'm going to get on a phone call with a girlfriend of mine I haven't talked to since before Christmas. And we talk about once a month, once every 4 to 6 weeks. And we usually have an hour to 2 hours of yakking to catch up on. So I'll be working on my socks while we're chatting. I won't be able to be looking at and thinking about laying out crochet squares into a pretty design, or the colors looking pretty together. So hopefully Ariana will be either finished or at least a lot closer to finished next week. I was hoping I could have showed you all of that and been all proud of how much I had done in the past week, but I'm proud of how much I did this past week. Now I just have to undo it and do it again. Oh well, it is what it is. What can you do? So anyway, I think I will quit nattering at you. I've already been yakking for almost a half an hour about 3 projects. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit loopy. Maybe I should cut back on the Coke today, or the Coke Zero today. I maybe have had enough. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. And again, if you're new here, I should have said this way at the beginning, but if you're new here and you've stuck around this long listening to my shenanigans, thank you so much for coming by. If you're returning, thank you so much for coming back again to see what kind of nonsense I've been up to since you last saw me. And if you have not yet done so, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It really helps me out. Alrighty, thank you so much for joining me, everyone. Take care, and I will see you guys again in a week. Okay, bye now.